All right, hey folks. So today I want to talk to you about why minimalism sucks and what we can do about it. So firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. If you have any questions or comments about today's discussion, please pop them down below in the comments, and I like to get back to everyone when I can. If you'd like to work with me on your own strength, physique, or fitness, or fat loss goals, whatever you're into, then there's a link in the description. Contact me and get in touch. All right, so what I'm talking about is this idea that you can progress to the physique of your dreams, to your genetic potential via just a very small, limited exercise routine and just microload on that till you reach the heady heights of advanced status. That's the promise. That's the goal. So don't do very much, just do a small amount, and then that's what will get you to your genetic potential. The problem with that is it doesn't really work out like that for most people. So if we have a look at some of my notes here, this is the general stance of people coming from this minimalistic camp. They say to stick to a small group of compound lifts and progress on them exclusively. So when I talk about a small group of markers of progression, I'm talking about those within the context of a larger routine. These guys are literally saying pick like 5 or 6 exercises and just progress on them exclusively. That's it. It's all you need to do. So the argument is always given that imagine how big you'd be if you built your bench up from 1 plate aside for 8 to 3 plates aside for 8. Now, the silent implication is that that's all you need to do to get to that 3 plate aside bench, but it doesn't really work out like in reality. So I can give you my example. I actually started off with a very minimalistic approach. So that got me to, I would say, early intermediate status pretty quickly. So that's nice. It at least got me some gains. And we know from the research that if you're willing to eat and you're willing to work hard in the gym, you can gain from as little as 1 or 2 sets per week done hard to failure. So that's kind of what I was doing. My advantage was I was able to eat a lot of food and I gained quite well. So I got up to about a 90 kilo bench press for a single, about a 140 squat and about a 190 deadlift, using a very minimalistic routine, which I've said in the past. Now, I hit that wall, and I hit that wall dead on. And I was very, very far away from my eventual genetic potential. And I asked the community that I was in, I said, look, because it was a very minimalistic based community, I said, what do I do? And they said, well, you're doing everything. Are you working with a minimalistic routine? I said, yes. Great. Are you keeping your sets low? I said, yes. All right. And they said, well, that's it. You're tapped out because obviously you work hard. You're doing all the right things that we normally say to do. So you're tapped out. Take your 90 kilo bench, go home and be happy for the rest of your life, which was crazy. So the silent implication from these people is that you only need to do the exercise with that level of volume to get to the point where you're advanced in that. Just complete nonsense. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, you know? And so I want to give you guys a bit of an example of the type of routine which they would promote. This is a type of routine very similar to what I did with my first about year or so of training, and I tapped out on it. So you guys speak in a lot of sets per week quite a lot. So the total number of quad sets per week was 2. You just did the squat. Bench press, chest sets, just 2. Total number of shoulder sets, 2. Bicep sets, 2. But you also did pull down, so maybe you could say 3, you know. Generally, you would do about 2 working sets per exercise. So it was a very, very low volume routine. The idea was that you just work hard on this very low volume routine, you microload, and then that's how you get bigger and stronger and you reach your advanced status. The problem is, 1, it doesn't work. You'll reach a plateau very, very quickly. And 2, most people who do these types of routine, they don't have any kind of advancement or development whatsoever. They just really turn into fat, not very strong strength athletes. Like I remember back in the day, there was a trainer called John Christie, and his darling trainee, I forget his name, Craig Rasmussen, I think it was, apparently got very strong, got up to a 140 kilo bench with this approach. I mean, 140 kilo bench, at the time I thought that was strong, but it's not that strong. But the problem was he got to a 300-pound bench weighing like 260. So you think to yourself, you had to add something like 60 pounds of body weight to develop a 300-pound bench. That doesn't seem like a very good muscle to strength ratio. Plus, if you're 260 pounds and you only bench 300, you're probably not going to look that good. So John Christie never really released any photos of this guy. It was just his training updates. I mean, one, we didn't even know he existed. And two, odds are he's probably just a fat dude. Most of us aren't training just to get really, really obese and get slightly stronger. That's not the goal of most trainers. Yeah. Am I right in that or am I wrong? So these types of routines are built up as the be all and end all to get you from beginner to advanced. That's all you need to do. I know from experience that's just not right for most people. So the idea is you're supposed to sort of micro load on that small group of 5 or so compound exercises and just get bigger. That's wrong for most people. It just doesn't work. Now, what does work and what we need to bear in mind to get from that initial stall past that to advanced status and beyond is that two things. Volume drives strength. So people shy away from doing a lot more work. They shy away from doing a lot more work because they're not convinced that it's actually going to improve their strength. The thing is, when I was powerlifting, I did a lot of volume, like a ton of volume, ton of working sets. And I did a ton of high repetition work. Most of my work during the off season when I was powerlifting was in the 5 to 8 rep range. It was moderate to high, or moderate mostly. And I did a lot of sets of that moderate training. At certain times in my training, I was lifting full body routines up to 6 times per week. So it was a hell of a lot of work. Now, most of you have no interest in doing that, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you have very, very lofty goals like I did. But the point is, the volume drives the strength forward. Now, also, conversely, this is something which we don't hear about in bodybuilding circles very much either, but strength drives volume too. So a lot of these programs, these minimalistic programs, they don't have a lot of high volume. They also don't have you doing like anything which is even remotely resembling singles and doubles and triples, but strength also drives your volume. And every time I've gotten a lot stronger, made a burst up in strength, is when I've been doing a lot of singles. So that was the first time I hit a 3-plate bench, 4-plate squat, 5-plate deadlift. I was doing singles on all those lifts. When I eventually got to my strongest, I was doing singles on much more variations, much more of a conjugate style of training. So volume drives strength and strength drives volume. They are both intertwined. So I think rather than thinking, well, am I a bodybuilder, so I shouldn't be doing strength work, or I'm a strength athlete, so I shouldn't be doing lots of volume, rather than limiting yourself, just think about what do I need to do to get simultaneously bigger and stronger? Like that's the goal. Your diet might bias you slightly towards one or the other. Your exercise selection might bias you towards one or the other. But in general, for most average guys, genetically typical average guys, they need to utilize higher amounts of volume to get stronger. And they need to utilize the top end rep ranges to get to build up their moderate rep work. So volume drives strength and strength drives volume. Once past the beginner stage, the biggest sort of advice that I can give you is look for programs and look for coaches who promote using a wider variety of repetitions. So right the way down to singles, doubles, triples, and 5s, right the way up to 20s and 30s and stuff like that, and everything in between. Vary the volume. Utilize techniques of varying the volume is a very robust way of making sure you carry on using gains. Like you've heard of the whole Mike Israetel way of adding volume through a cycle. Like that's a good way of doing things. I do think his approach lacks some of the stuff I'm talking about here, which is going into the really high percentages and the 1 rep maxes and the 2 rep maxes. And you could argue the reason that he doesn't need to do that is because he has enough neural drive from his supplements that he doesn't need to do the single repetitions. But if you're a genetically average drug-free guy, well, it might help you if you did some single repetition work. Not saying go out and do crazy 1 rep maxes bounced off your chest with a spotter helping you, but controlled 1 rep maxes, or something approaching 95% can be quite useful. So utilize a variety of volumes, utilize a variety of intensities, and utilize a wide variety of rep ranges. Once you're past the beginner stage, you need to pull all these tools out of the box to enable you to carry on progressing. Now, the irony is these hard gainers who I was talking about at the beginning, they do less and less work. They are potentially the exact ones who need more work to grow. Like if you can get away with a minimalistic routine and grow, like congrats. Like if you can get away with growing to an advanced physique by only doing 2 sets per week, pat yourself on the back because you have greater genetics than 99% of the population. If you can literally grow from doing 2 sets of bench press of chest per week and grow to advanced status, then newsflash, wake up call. You're not a hard gainer. If you can get to 140 kilo bench press, so like 120 kilos for a set of 8, or if you can get to a 5-plate deadlift by doing 1 or 2 sets of deadlifting per week, Newsflash, you are not a hard gainer. And assuming you have a reasonable body fat percentage and a reasonable body weight. So if you're deadlifting 500 pounds at 190 or 200 pounds, you are not a hard gainer. You are one of the genetically elite. Most of us have to do a hell of a lot more and have to have far more interest in our programming to actually be able to get to those levels. It's not how it works. So, minimalism sucks. Genetically typical naturals should consider plateaus in strength and size to be the exact same thing. The moment you stop getting stronger is the moment you stop growing. Utilize all the tricks that you have available to you. Check out my programs. Check out the Tactician program. Check out the Wizard. They all use varying levels of intensity, varying rep ranges, undulating periodizations, conjugate style training. They all utilize a wide variety of things to keep you getting stronger. And that's what you need. If you don't have genetic advantages, you need programming advantages. Yeah, that's what I've learned with my own training and that of my clients over the years. So use all of those things. Use the higher volumes, use the higher intensities, use the higher variety. That's key. And then properly periodize everything to manage those. It really works. So my point with this video is don't limit yourself. And if you are genetically average, shy away from minimalism. Like, it sounds great. It sounds very logical. Like, yes, one plate a side bench to 3 plate a side bench, great. But that silent implication that that's all you need, that's where it goes wrong. You need more than that to get to that end point. So I'm going to call it there. Hopefully you found that video useful, and I will speak to you guys in the next one.